You're listening to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show with your hosts, the Fantasy Insider, Matt Brick, the Commish, Henry Brick, and the Doctor, Jeff Hathcock. Welcome in. You are listening to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I am Matt Brick, the Insider, joined with my co-host, Henry the Commish Brick. Henry, it's great seeing you. How are we feeling on this Tuesday night?
Matt, I feel great. It's all about the playoffs. We're finally here. All the hard work we put in, all the dedication, all the insider stuff he gave us this season, man. It brought us to this moment. We're now embarking on the playoffs. And man, we got a lot of great stuff for this show. Hopefully you're paying attention. That way we're getting you through the first round into the second round and ultimately to win the championship, baby. Let's go.
That's right. We got news for this week, so let's just get right into it. David Njoku left the game with a knee injury, so that is something to monitor there. It could be huge for Harold Finn Jr. this upcoming week, so keep an eye on that. Keaton Mitchell had a knee injury as well, so there is that. Unfortunately, Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, tore his Achilles and is out for the season. I hope and pray for him. I hate to see it. He was having a season, and it's a shame. He really turned that team around by making them, a great offense there. And now his season's over. So I hope the best for him, and I hope the Colts can still figure it out. I don't know if Philip Rivers is the right answer, but I guess we'll see. Next up, I have Devin Achan. He did not return, but could have returned, and his MRI came back clean. I did read that he should be good to go for the next week, so just keep an eye on that throughout the week, see what he's doing in practice. Tyrod Taylor did not return against the Dolphins with a groin injury. Jaden Daniels did not return with an elbow injury. I was talking to the commissioner during this game, and I just questioned why even start Daniels. I'm pretty sure they are now officially playoff eliminated. So it's like I just really don't get why they even did it, but because of your injury and it happened, obviously. So I don't know. I just think it wasn't the smartest option. You know you're not playing for the playoffs. You're playing for draft picks now, and now your quarterback's hurt even more. So, unfortunately, Zach Ertz is feared to have an ACL injury. So I hope all is well for him. Devastating. Hate to see it. And if you didn't make sure you knew about this, Omarion Hampton was elevated off of IR and did play last night, and he looked good. I'll be honest about that. He did look. His legs looked fresh there. So, and there's no bye weeks this week. So bye weeks are done. We are in the
Thank
playoffs.
God. Yes.
And we're ready to go. We're ready to we'll start it off with the stardom. All right, Kamish, what do you have? Who do you have to start this week?
Got a lot of good stuff this week, Matt. My top of my list got to be Jackson Dart. Goes up against the Commanders. Great start coming off. Last off the bye. Commanders give up the fourth most fantasy points to the quarterback. Dart's got a lot of juice. Love to watch him play. I believe he's matchup proof going forward, even in the next year. I think he's a top fantasy starting quarterback. So keep that in mind, even if you did make playoffs when you're preparing for next season. Here's a name that I actually started this past week because I had to. And guess what? I have him as a start this week on the show. Devin Neal goes up against Carolina. They give up the eighth most fantasy points to the running back. No Kamara means start Neal with confidence, baby, for the playoffs. How about that? I also really like Christian Watson. And I know what you're going to say, Matt. Commish, they're playing the Broncos. What are you doing? Well, here's the deal. I know the Broncos have a great secondary, right? But over the last 4 weeks, Watson is on fire. He caught 17 balls. He's averaged over 15 points a game. Okay, so you got to look at that. The kid's on fire. He's the absolute deep threat ball guy for Jordan Love. That's who he looks to. And they got a million receivers over there, but that's the guy they look for. So I'm going to take the guy on fire versus, man, it's a tough secondary. You know what I mean? Because I want to win the playoffs. I'm going Christian Watson all day long. Okay. Here's another name for you, which I wasn't very high on this guy at the beginning of the year. I'm high on him this week for the playoffs. Kyle Pitts, tight end, right? Versus the Bucks. Bucks allow the sixth most passing yards in the league. And this week, Pitts will hit a career high not only in receptions, but in receiving yards. So guess what? Kyle Pitts, he's in my lineup this week for the playoffs. These are just a few names I put together that I think you should strongly consider. As we kind of get later in the show, I got a lot more stuff for playoffs that I think we should definitely go over. But these are names, especially a lot of injuries that have gone on this week, this season. These are names I think you should strongly consider to help you get the job done this week. Who do you have there, Mr. Fantasy Insider?
Well, first I want to ask you this because I have Jackson Dart in our Dynasty League, but I also have Dak Prescott. Would you start Dart over Dak Prescott off the top of your head?
I will start Dart. Here's why.
That's crazy.
I know, but hear me out. What just happened last week? Minnesota, who did they play?
They played the Washington Commanders.
Right. They blanked them.
Yes,
right?
they did.
Now, listen, Dallas is definitely a better team, and I don't think they're going to blank them. But I think Minnesota could be strong against, believe it or not, the passing. They put up some pretty decent defense. Mm-hmm. So I'm going Dart. I'm going Dart here, and I'm not even thinking about it.
Wow. Even though I also have George Pickens.
Well, is it George Pickens? How do you not start him, right?
Right, but what I'm saying is I would have the stack with Dak.
No, I hear you, but here's the thing: with Dart, you're getting the rushing yards, right? And he's just making it happen. The kid's just got juice all over the place. What I think could happen with Dallas, they could get up and then just start running the ball. Then you're screwed with basically with Dak, right? So Dart's the player.
All right, fair enough.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's go to who I have to start this week. Speaking of the Vikings, I have J.J. McCarthy as an excellent start this week. He plays Dallas on Sunday Night Football. I know you can be very hesitant about J.J. McCarthy, especially starting him this week because of his inconsistency, but I really like this matchup, and I think he will do he did very well last week as what the commission was saying. He did throw 163 yards and 3 touchdowns against that Commanders defense, which is pretty good. Dallas has allowed 363 fantasy points to quarterbacks, which is the worst in the league. So I think J.J. McCarthy is going to show up and put on a performance on Sunday Night Football against this Dallas defense. So you're going to want to start him there. Travis Etienne is a guy I like this week. He's been balling, and I think he will continue to do so against the Jets. The Jets have allowed 278 fantasy points against the running back, which is 30th in the league. I expect Etienne to get it done on Sunday. Next, I really like Devontae Adams against the Lions on Sunday. The Lions have allowed 320 fantasy points to wide receivers, which is 31st in the league. The Lions secondary has been completely decimated this year, so you're going to want to start Adams in your lineup if you have him. Lastly, I like Jawan Jennings against the Titans. The Titans have allowed 280 fantasy points to wide receivers, which is 27th in the league. The 49ers are 44-19 after the bye under Kyle Shanahan, and I think they'll add another one into the win column on Sunday. So you're going to want to start Jawan Jennings in your lineups as well. All right, let's go ahead and start our start. We'll go and start our sit-em segment. What the heck? Right. I'll start it off. This week, I have Jordan Love as a sit against the Broncos defense. Denver has allowed 195 fantasy points to quarterbacks, which is fourth in the league. I think Jordan Love just doesn't do well against pressure, so I would look for better options at quarterback this week. Next, I have to sit Kyron Williams. He goes up against the Lions, who have allowed 147 fantasy points against running backs, which is second in the league. I think this will be a big defensive game. The current over-under is 55.5, which I think is a lot. So place your bets. But with this Rams Lions, as much as I think the Lions secondary is not great, I think the Lions do have a good rushing defense. The Rams have a solid, great defense in general. So I would bet the under on that. Next, you're going to want to do yourself a favor and bench Xavier Worthy, who goes up against the Chargers, who have allowed 175 points to wide receivers, which is the best in the league. Check this out. I did a little research. Ever since Rashee Rice returned week 7, Xavier Worthy has not scored and hasn't surpassed 61 receiving yards. Wow. Do yourself a favor and bench Xavier Worthy this week. It's not worth it. Lastly, I wanted to throw out a tight end here. I'm going to go ahead and bench Cade Otton this week because he plays the Falcons on Thursday Night Football, which I've completely hated this season for fantasy football. The Falcons have allowed 49 fantasy points to tight ends, which is the second best in the league, and you're going to want to get a better tight end if you have Cade Otton in your lineup. So those are my sits this week. Do as you want, but you should probably listen to me. And Commissioner, tell us what you got.
That's all good stuff, Mr. Fantasy Insider. I'm going to start with Caleb Williams. He's a big sit for me versus the Browns. Here's the deal. He's got 5 games with over 20 fantasy points. Excellent. Here's the thing. He also has 5 games under 13 fantasy points. And this week he goes up against the Browns, who give up the 4th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback. So he's a very big sit for me this week. Hopefully you have a better option at the quarterback position. Here's the thing. You got to the playoffs. Hopefully it wasn't because of Caleb Williams, okay? Next up, Aaron Jones. He plays the Cowboys. This defense has really come on strong. They've allowed the 8th fewest fantasy points to the running back. And I know, Matt, you seem pretty high on McCarthy this week, but he's obviously, look, he's inconsistent. And I think that doesn't help Aaron Jones like at all, especially against the Cowboys. So for that reason, I have to go with a better option, Devin Neal, perhaps. Okay. And I'm sticking with the Vikings. Justin Jefferson, I got to sit him against the Cowboys. Listen, definitely the best wide receiver in the league, right? But as I've stated, McCarthy is inconsistent. And he's only has had 5.5 fantasy points the last 2 weeks. So I'm not trusting him in my fantasy playoffs. It doesn't seem like the Vikings are getting him involved enough. The best wide receiver on the planet, right? I would be looking to find ways to get him the ball any way I possibly can, and I just don't see them doing that. They don't seem to be changing what they like to do with the with their players. They're playing their scheme, and Jefferson. Part of that scheme is 5.5 fantasy points. That's not getting it done for me in the playoffs, even against the Cowboys. Finally, Mark Andrews goes up against the Bengals. And I know you're thinking, it's the Bengals. What are you kidding me? Well, Lamar had his best game of the season just last week. Guess how many points Mark Andrews put up? 2 fantasy points. So I think there's probably a better option for you at the tight end this week. I mean, I don't think he's caught more than 4 balls a game in the past few games, as a matter of fact, right? So I don't know. You got to find a better option to tight end, and I think we have a few we could talk about as the show progresses. So that's Mark Andrews is a big sit for me, Matt.
All right. Well, I know what I think your dude. I'm sorry is next week. Justin Jefferson.
I
think you know it too. All right, let's go into our world famous "Dude, I'm Sorry" segment. I'll start it off. Last week, I told you to start Quinshon Judkins, who had 26 rushing yards and 58 receiving yards. For that, dude, I am sorry. But I did tell you to start Christian Watson, who had himself a day, 4 catches, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And of course, my sleeper of the week last week, Isaac Tesla on Thursday Night Football,
Yes.
caught a touchdown. So yeah, that was my dude. I'm sorry, Rich. What do you got?
Yeah, man, that was great. When I saw Tesla catch, I was like, the insider got it again. Well, listen, last week, my deep, deep sleeper was Raheem Mostert. Well, unfortunately, he was just deep asleep. He came up with 1 fantasy point. So for that, dude, I am sorry. But I did tell you to start Jacoby Brissett. He goes 271 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and he added 22 yards rushing. I also said RJ Harvey, make sure he's in your lineup. 75 yards rushing, a touchdown, plus he caught 6 balls for 25. Added an eight extra bonus points there for you. Finally, I told you to put in Blake Corum. I told you to pick up Blake Corum, actually, is what I said. Pick up Blake Corum. Well, if you picked him up and started him like you should have, how about this? 12 rushes for a buck 28 and 2 touchdowns. Let's go.
All right, let's go into our DFS lineup of the week. I'll kick it off for you. This week, I'm going with no other than who did I put in? I went with Jackson Dart against the Commanders, 5,600. I do like the start. I like them. I like the price for Dart. I mean,
Such a deal.
this is really just the command. Like he's up against the Commanders, and they are just not a good football team at all. They're playing for draft picks, and the Giants are at home against the Commanders. So I'm going with Dart. I think he can have himself a game. So I like that. I like the price, 5,600 for Dart. So next, I have Travis Etienne, who I spoke about earlier, 6,500 against those Jets. He's been balling, and I'm just going to follow the trend. I like Etienne there. Next, I have Woody Marks at 5,600 against the Cardinals at home. Now, yeah, I mean, this is just a good matchup for Marks. I think the Cardinals defense don't have a great rush defense. They're like in the low 20s, I think. So I like this matchup for Woody Marks, and I like the price of 5,600. Going against the commission's wishes, I have Justin Jefferson at 6,300 in Dallas. Listen, I think J.J. McCarthy has himself a game. He's in a primetime game. He is in Dallas. That's the last thing I like about this game. But I do think he shows up. I do think he will be able to find Jefferson. I think he'll be able to pick apart this Dallas defense. They allowed the most fantasy points against the quarterback. I'd be stupid to not start him, in my opinion. I mean, I know that I'm running a risk, but I'd rather take that risk. Next, I have Devonta Smith, 5,800 against the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, if the Eagles lose this game, they can just hand Dallas the division, and we'll think about draft picks because you're going to want to call on your fellow Eagles fans if that happens. Next, I have Jawan Jennings at 5,200 against the Titans. Spoke about Jennings earlier. I think the Niners coming off a bye. I think Jennings is. I feel like if anything, Jennings has really been a solid guy. Some weeks he doesn't put up much, but I like Jennings this week against the Titans. So my tight end is Harold Fannin Jr. Like I spoke about earlier, David Njoku got hurt last week, and Fannin is only $4,000. They play against the Bears, who, I'm not really afraid of against the tight end, actually. So I think that's a good price there for Fannin. And lastly, I paid up a lot more for my flex, which is Devontae Adams at 7,200 against the Lions. I think he has himself a game, and I'm really excited to see Adams play there. And for my defense, I have the Birds defense at 3,800 against those Raiders. I listen. I mean, this as crazy as it is, but this is a must-win game against the Raiders. They can't lose 4 in a row, and that defense is a defense. They have great talent. They're doing a great job of stopping offenses, even though they didn't win it last night. But they are able to create pressure. They created a lot of pressure last night against Justin Herbert, and I think Geno Smith doesn't have a shot against this defense. So I got the Eagles defense at 3,800. Kamish, what do we got?
That's great stuff, man. Great stuff. Except for the Justin Jefferson pick, I think that was a great lineup. Um, I'm gonna go Burrow. Okay, he goes up against the Baltimore Ravens. Here's the thing:
It
he's
sounds like
only
you made a little mix-up, or you switched it up. You originally had Dak Prescott now.
no, that was last week, Jack Prescott. I
Oh,
originally had Dart. I had Dart in there, and I decided to go Burrow. But here's why: going up against the Baltimore Ravens, ranked 31st against the pass. Here's the thing: two horrible defenses mean that it's possible if Lamar can figure out how to kind of get it together, they could keep scoring on each other like crazy, which is great for fantasy, especially for DFS. But my money's on Burrow to be obviously he's the more consistent one of the two right now in the NFL. So I think he's well worth the 6,600. He puts up big numbers this week. I've been talking about him all show. I started him last week in one of my leagues. Devin Neal, running back for the Saints. No Kamara means you put in Devin Neal, and guess what? He's a bargain. He's a bargain basement guy. 5,300 goes up against Carolina at home. I think last week I believe he put up like around 70 yards rushing, got in the end zone. It gives the coach more confidence in him to keep feeding this kid the ball because he's a super talented kid. He was great in college. My next running back is a guy that I got to keep checking the injury report and see what's going on. But I love what Jalen Wright did, right? Last week when a chain went down, if a chain isn't playing, Jalen Wright is the guy, right? I mean, yeah, he's on the road, but he goes up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers seems to be playing a little bit out of his mind. Jalen Wright could certainly calm that down. And at 4,900, how do you not put him in your lineup, right? He's that's a stud RB1 pick at a bargain deal price. Again, that's not going to happen if Chain's playing, but if he's not playing, I love Jalen Wright in the spot. Uh, I'm going with the stack, right? Burrow is my quarterback. Jamar Chase, I'm going with. That's who he's throwing the ball to. Um, I paid up for him at 8,100, but listen, Chase really was a little bit invisible last week. Higgins was the guy. Burrow's going to go, look, I said Higgins last week. This week is you, Chase. It's going to be all you all day. Let's go, right? Because the film's going to show we got to guard Higgins. So Jamar Chase is going to get it done this week, 8,100. I'm going with another stud here at wide receiver. Matt, I know you like Devonta Adams because why? The Detroit Lions defense is terrible, right? I get that. But who's the main guy there who gets fed the ball, fed the ball, fed the ball? Puka Nacua, right? Puka Nacua, I paid up for him at 8,700. It's 4 o'clock game against Detroit at home, though. And guess what? I'm going stud, and I'm hitting you right back with another stud with Nacua. Chase and then Nacua. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you're right. I originally did have Dart in there because he is a great play for DFS, and he's priced, I think, wrong. What was it, Matt? 5,600 or something like that. Um, Darius Slayton. That's who Dart's going to throw the ball to downfield. That's his deep threat. It's 4,400. I think that's a cheap play for a guy that could produce WR1 numbers in DFS. I like this. I like this play. I even like stacking him with Dart in some, in some, other than cash, like a tournament play. I like Darius Slayton in there, so I think that's a very good start. At tight end, I'm going Colston Loveland, right? Colston Loveland is at home. He's against Cleveland, who has got a tough D, but guess what? He's 3,600. And I think the pressure that's going to be on Caleb Williams to do anything, he's going to have to dump off the Colston Loveland, and he'll be the beneficiary of catching 5, maybe 6 balls, and maybe get one in the end zone this week. So I really like him at tight end. At flex, I'm going Ricky Purcell. Pearsall. Sorry, I keep pronouncing that wrong. 5,100. He's at home against Tennessee. Brock Purdy's going to love this matchup. At 5,100 in my flex, I feel like I'm robbing people right now. This is just great stuff. I think I've been coming in second, like almost every week in our DFS. This is the week I finally get to the first place spot, and finally, defense. Guess what? I'm going the Chiefs. They're only 3,300. They are playing those Chargers, with the one arm bandit, and I think they're going to be a little bit more dialed in on getting to Herbert, and because the guy blitzes about 60-80% of the time, and I think they're going to find a way to get to that quarterback and create some turnovers there, as we just saw a bunch of turnovers last night against the Eagles. But that's the winning lineup this week for DFS, baby. Let's go.
All right, let's go into our sleepers / long shots. I'll start first. My sleeper this week is Noah Brown. You lose Zach Ertz, most likely for the season. Someone's going to have to step up, and I think the guy that's going to step up is Noah Brown, wide receiver for the Commanders. And I have a long shot as well. I'm going to go with Mitch Tinsley because I forgot to mention earlier, T. Higgins is officially back in concussion protocol, which means Mitch Tinsley, baby. He's going to get all those targets that Jamar Chase doesn't, and I highly suggest you removing him from your DFS lineups. Commish?
Wow. Wow. So that makes me feel even better about starting Jamar Chase in my DFS lineup. That's awesome.
No, not at all.
I mean, it's not awesome. You never want to.
Every game, Diego's in the play. It was Mitch Tinsley every single
Yeah, but Jamar Chase.
No, who did they even play? I don't even know.
They're playing. Who's
the Bengals.
The Bengals are playing the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
terrible. I like Mitch Tinsley.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
All right. My sleeper is going to be Jalen Coker. He goes up against the Saints in week 14. Last week, he picks up 4 for 74 and a touchdown. He is a great slot wide receiver, and I think he gets it done this week against the Saints. So Jalen Coker. Listen, Tenor McMillan, he's the obvious one there, 100%. But I think Jalen Coker, excellent too. And I like him as my sleeper. I think he puts up some big numbers. I got another little deep sleeper. I guess maybe more for dynasty, I would say. You mentioned that was it Keaton Mitchell, running back for the Baltimore? He got hurt, left the game, right? Rasheen Ali, he's the guy, right? He's the guy came in. I think he got around 20 touches last week, by the way. So Rasheen Ali, he's the guy you would pick up in dynasty because he's a young fella. He's got plenty of juice, and I don't think he'll do anything for you this week because Derrick Henry's going to get the ball a ton. I think he had 24 carries last week, so I don't know how much you'll see Ali. But in dynasty, I mean, Henry's getting older, so you got to look for that for next season.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, let's go into the main event. Waiver wire pickups. It is officially Waiver Wire Tuesday. I'll start it off. This week, 3 guys I have. I have Jaden Reed, who I really don't like. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like Jaden Reed. But
little beast.
If you're in a pinch, I guess I wouldn't start him. I don't like him at all. But he's available probably, so go get him. Colston Loveland, I think, is another good one to go get. And I think this is my favorite one, Ryan Flanoy, or Flower Noise, I like to call him because that's how it's spelled. Yeah, I mean, I know CeeDee Lamb got hurt in that last game, but man, he's been peppered throughout the season, and I think he deserves some respect. I really do. He's catching the ball, and he is scoring fantasy points. So, yeah, Ryan Flournoy, he's probably out there. Go try to get him.
Yeah, I think last week he put up. I'm actually looking it up right now because I know he put up over $1.
Yeah,
last week.
It's because Lamb got hurt. It's because Lamb had, I believe, it was a concussion or whatever. They were looking at him for a concussion.
Right, but
he came back
it's nice to know that when he goes down.
He put up
9 for 115 and a touch.
Yeah, I mean,
last week.
That's pretty good.
Easily, yeah. So you feel
don't forget
good
about him.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I got a few waiver wire pickups here. I'm going to start with the quarterback for the Saints, Shug. Is that right? Is that pronounced Shug? A top 12 finisher in the last 3 out of 4 games. With rushing upside, he has at least 6 carries in 3 straight games. So was it Tyler Shug? Is that his name? Tyler Shug for the Saints? Guess what?
Shuck like a corn. Shuck like a corn.
Shuck, yeah. Shuck, let me tell you, he might be a guy that could help you get through the playoffs here. We had a big injury this week with the Indiana Jones, right? So you might be that team that he helped get you to the playoffs, but now you're struggling to find a quarterback. That might be a guy that is available on the waiver wire for you to pick up. Obviously, trade deadline is probably passed, so Tyler Shucks might be the guy you want to kind of go after, right? I also like Harold Fannin. I know you like him in DFS, Matt, this week. He obviously took advantage of Njoku's limited play, actually the last 3 weeks. And guess what? His next 3 games, right? We're talking playoffs into the fantasy championship. You got the Bears, you got the Bills, you got the Steelers. He's got a great playoff schedule for the tight end. So I think if he is available, and you need a tight end, you just pick him up and start him, right? I talked about him earlier for my DFS. Again, you got to pay attention to what's going on with injury, but I like Jalen Wright, right? When a chain goes down, after a chain put up 92 yards at a touchdown last week, which was insane. Jalen Wright comes in 24 carries for $1.07 and a touch. Right. So if a chain doesn't go, you get a stud. At the running back position in Pittsburgh. They're playing Pittsburgh this week. They allow the most rushing yards the last 4 weeks to the running back at an average of 147 yards per game. So really pay attention to that, right? Playoffs are here. Here's a guy you might be able to just pick him up, start him. Maybe you throw him right in your flex, and man, it just propels you to the next round of the playoffs, right? Another running back, Devin Singletary. Great. He's got a great schedule coming up. He's got Washington, Minnesota, and the Raiders. If Tracy is out, remember Tracy left that game last week. It's another injury situation you got to look for before the Sunday games get going. But Singletary, and guess what? In the bad weather, I like Singletary over I like Tyrone Tracy. Tracy is very prone to fumbling the ball. Singletary looks like he's been getting it done. And I think the play of Dart, how much juice that kid has, just helps that running game tremendously. So he's probably available on your waiver wire. Another guy, if you have room on your bench, I pick him up, and you may be able to start him this week, depending on what's going on with Tracy. Finally, I got Luther Burden, right? Listen, with a big fat zero put up by Rome Odunze last week and only one catch by Mr. DJ Moore, Burden looks like he has a big breakout game, leads all wide receivers, this Sunday with 4 catches, 67 yards. But I just see this getting better these next 3 weeks. It looks like Caleb was looking for this kid. The kid's got plenty of talent. He's getting open. He's a prototypical wide receiver. I think he's a big part of their future plan. So Luther Burden, if you need him wide receiver, man, listen, there's so many injuries out there that he might be a great pickup for you moving forward here.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I like that Burden pick. I think he's solid. Obviously, he had so much more production because of Rome being out, but you just never know going into the playoffs, and now's the time. So there you go. All right. You said you wanted to talk about the playoffs a bit.
Yeah, I think there's some stuff we should kind of just point out to people. So maybe talk about some tough matchups, maybe some easy matchups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone starts freaking out sometimes. You get to playoffs. Who do I start? Who do I start? You get so zoned in, focused sometimes on the wrong thing. Like to me, just to name, 3 tough matchups. I got Jacoby Brissett. He's going up against Houston this week. Houston's playing out of their minds. That defense is crazy good. And Brissett has been playing crazy good, but man, I'm looking at another option if I have Jacoby Brissett because I don't know that he puts up a ton of fantasy points up against Houston. Brock Bauer plays up against Philly. Tight ends do like virtually nothing against Philly, right? Aronde Gatson, just like I think he had 1, maybe 2 catches. I'm not sure. It was nothing. It was nothing of consequence. And Brock Bauer is probably the best at tight end this season. I don't know, man. Philly's defense is tough. They're going to be hungry for a win. They're playing at home. Brock Bowers, man, like if that's like your only option, I guess you got to start him. But there are better options out there. We talked about Harold Fannin. Like that's a guy you need to. Colston Loveland. These are guys you could pick up. I would start over him this week, right? And finally, Michael Pittman goes up against Seattle. That Seattle defense, but playing some tough ball right now. And especially, you have a big issue at the quarterback position, right? This Riley Leonard kid is terrible. He's in way over his head, and that's the coach's fault. I don't blame Riley Leonard at all, but you can't play. I'm not only can you not play Pittman, I would start at Downs, Alec Pierce. What's going to happen is they're going to load up that box against Jonathan Taylor and play one-on-one coverage, which should give Riley Leonard opportunity. But man, I don't know that he's going to be able to find it because he's going to be so overwhelmed with all the different looks that get thrown at him. So these are some things, just worth pointing out. You know what I mean? Another thing, Ken Walker Jr. And Charbonnet, right? 2 great running backs, but man, they're both not getting it done because they both eat each other's fantasy points, right? So to me, I wouldn't even want to get involved in that, either one of them, because it doesn't. To me, I'm looking at them and they don't equal getting me points to win a playoff fantasy game. You know what I mean? But on the flip side, Matt, when we talk about easy matchups, I talked about Joe Burrow, right? He's going to crush the Baltimore defense. I mean, that guy just wants to go out and show that even though I get hurt every year and miss a whole bunch of games, when I do play, I play great ball, and that's great for fantasy, But I also like Dart. We really beat that into the ground up against Washington. The kid's got so much juice. He's just a kid that makes it happen, and he's an exciting fantasy player moving forward for sure. Brock Purdy, he goes up against Tennessee, a really great matchup, right? Matter of fact, I'm in the league where there's it's a 32-man league. I get the number 1 seed. I lose Daniel Jones this week, and I'm lucky. You're only allowed to carry 1 quarterback, and Brock Purdy is actually available because he was on a bye last week. So whoever had him dropped him. I'm able to pick him. I'm hopefully able to pick him up when waivers run tonight. So Brock Purdy, an excellent pickup to really take you to a championship because he's got a great schedule. Matt, you mentioned him earlier, Travis Etienne, right? Etienne for the Jags going up against the Jets. Awesome matchup. I think he could put up some really big numbers. And you know what? I keep thinking about him. He's a great DFS play as well, for sure. Henderson, he goes up against the Bills. That Buffalo Bills running defense is the worst. So Henderson, and he's coming. I believe they had a bye last week, right? They're coming off a bye. Any team coming off a bye usually can do some major damage. And finally, as much as he's Mr. Inconsistency, man, JJ McCarthy, he's got a great fantasy schedule, right? And he does have all the weapons, but man, I don't trust him. But you may not be in a position where, again, you had Indiana Jones. You need a quarterback, and he's what's available. I guess at least he's got a great schedule to look at, man.
I understand. Listen, I understand. I'm starting JJ McCarthy in one league over Bo Nix. I think it's crazy. The Knicks starts
over Bo Nix.
Knicks against the Packers. Packers allow top they're up there a lot, not a lot towards the
Ooh.
quarterback. JJ McCarthy going up against Dallas. Listen, I'll never forget. It must have been years ago when a friend of mine I was in my brother's league, and quarterbacks were slim, and I will never forget. The guy who won the championship started Ryan Fitzpatrick, got him off waivers, and he had like a 40-50 point game and won. And I can't imagine he was that confident in Ryan Fitzpatrick, but it happened, and he had the matchup, and he won. But this stuff happens. Like, I feel like it's almost every year. The guys that are on the waivers will have games, and you just got to be able to adapt and put your faith in some people that you may not have faith in the regular season, but now it's playoffs. Now it's time. You can't make any mistakes or any coaching errors, as the commission likes to say. But
Yes, coaching errors
because
kill
a
me,
lot of
man.
this,
It's like I don't mind losing. I hate when I lose because
because
of
you
a
benched the wrong
coaching
guy,
error. Oh man,
that
that's
is,
the
it's
worst.
horrible. It's
That's the worst.
horrible,
Well, hopefully you listen to the show
and you
and
don't bench the wrong guy.
we
But
teach coaching guide,
that
right?
that's a part of this game we play. Because I'm always looking at that, and it's frustrating because the truth is no one is 100% accurate in that. I would love to meet that person because I would just listen to that guy. But
Right.
every week, because what I like to see you can see it on Sleeper. You can see how accurate you are in your starting in your lineups, and like, let's see if it says it on here. But yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like if anything, I've been like 80%, 85% accurate. But like,
Well, that's pretty
you
good.
odds are you're not going to know some guy's going to get hurt, and
Yeah, you can't
this
help that. You can't help
this
injury.
guy's on the this fourth string is gonna blow up, and like, it's not easy to predict. That's why that's why we have this podcast to help and guide you and try to help you make the right
It's funny
decision.
you bring up about the coaching. I ran into one of the guys we play in our league. We've been in 25
25
years.
years.
Yeah. Uh, and during the year, he traded me Hunter Henry. Now, when he traded him to me, up until that point, Hunter Henry's done nothing. He was a horrible tight end, but he obviously wasn't listening to our show because that particular week, we were all me, you, and the doctor. We were all on Hunter Henry, Hunter Henry, Hunter. And what happens? I get him, boop. He crushed it the week, and he was like, he brought that up because he missed the playoffs. He's like, man, I think of moves like that. I never should have did that. That would have helped propel me. I'm like, exactly. So, listening to the show absolutely helps. A couple other thoughts I had about playoffs are, just some friendly reminders. Get handcuffs for your stud running backs. Might not be a bad idea. Like, if you have a chain, pick up Jalen Wright. Right, so that's probably not a terrible idea. If you have McCaffrey, make sure you have Brian Robinson. Now's the time to kind of do that. Maybe not so much at the beginning of the year when there's just so many different choices and so many different things that happen that you can pick up guys on waivers. But now's the time, if possible, to pick those kind of guys up. Also, look at the defenses and who defenses are playing these next 3 weeks. I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for instance, the defense. They have the Falcons, the Panthers, and the Dolphins, right? Like, if I got them, I don't have to worry about defenses the rest of the way. If I have them, or if I'm able to pick them up now and run them, stream them these last 3 weeks, figuring I'm going to go and win a championship. I would also look at the Cowboys, right? They have the Vikings, the Chargers, and then in the championship we have the Commanders, right? And they're probably going to have to play tough just to make the playoffs. That's kind of how that looks. So that's kind of a hungry team I kind of like to have to make my playoff run for fantasy. The New Orleans Saints, believe it or not, the Saints, right? But they have the Carolina Panthers, they have the New York Jets, and then the Tennessee Titans. I mean, teams that they should be able to have some defensive success against. These are teams I'm looking for, to run my fantasy playoffs and make things happen. Speaking of streaming, just this week, you mentioned, Matt, you like the Eagles. They got the Raiders this week. There's the Jags got the Jets are a decent pickup. The Cowboys, which I mentioned, versus the Vikings, and the Niners. Even they're playing the Tennessee Titans. So just some thoughts to help you maybe put something together this week that will work for you to win a playoff game.
Yeah, one thing I was just thinking of was, as silly as it sounds, go check your IR spots. Go check your taxi
Yeah,
spot if you have them, because I'm like thinking about it just now. Like I know I have Jaden Blue on my taxi squad in our main
yeah.
league, and I haven't touched him since the draft. Probably shouldn't have.
Neither is Dallas.
Probably shouldn't have. Yeah, neither that me right. Like, I probably should have made a change. During the season, but I was so high on Blue that I thought something was going to break out, and it just didn't turn to fruition there. So just go check your IR spots. Just make sure that you're not forgetting about anybody on your team, because I know Garrett Wilson is a big one right now. From what I've read, the the article I read literally said that Aaron Glenn gave nothing of substance about Garrett Wilson, which is very frustrating for Garrett Wilson owners. Having said that, if it's Brady Cook at quarterback, then it's like, how do you start Garrett Wilson? Because
Yeah,
that guy is not ready at all.
no,
If it were Tyrod Taylor, then obviously I think it's a much better start for Wilson. Listen, we don't even know if he's going to play, but if he does play, you're going to want to make sure the right quarterback's in, not the wrong quarterback, because you don't want to miss an opportunity and lose a lot of points. So
right.
just keep an eye on your team, and stream. I'm more of a streamer at defense than just looking at the next three. I think the more you stream, because honestly, really keep an eye on the transactions in your league. Guys will be dropped, defenses will be dropped, and not everyone is as smart as you in your league, right? So, if a defense that you really like, next week or this week is dropped, go and pick them up and start them,
Yeah,
because as silly as it sounds, defenses can score you some points. So I know I hate kickers, but just 22 points, Brandon Aubrey. It's a joke,
right,
but
right.
it's a joke. It's
Our
horrible.
buddy
It's
brought that up today too, because he said, and I got outbid at the draft for Brandon Aubrey. I'm like,
yeah, it's
yeah, how could you let that happen? You're a
it's
Dallas fan.
terrible. It's just terrible. No kicker should be getting more
Speak,
than 20 points.
speaking of kickers, Andy Baralgalis, is that his name?
The Patriots
The
kicker,
Patriots kicker,
I
man.
believe.
He's a good streamer
Jason
kicker.
Myers has been killing it. So
Yeah, he's been playing out of his mind.
highly
He's great.
recommend picking him up if you can. But
Yeah,
he's been he's as of late, like past 4 or 5 games at least, he's just been monsters. I feel like
yeah,
the Seahawks offense has just stalled. Within the red zone or by like the 30, and it's another Jason Myers field goal.
yeah.
So I mean, we're in crunch time now, and you gotta get the right guys on your team and
Right.
get those lineups in, double, triple check that your lineups in correctly, and we got this.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go. To end the show, we'll do some more. Who should I start? Like last week. Let me just pull them up, and then let me get the thing ready here. Okay, here we go.
All right, there we go.
All right. Wow, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren or Harold Fanning Jr.
Oh, easy. Harold Fanning Jr.
Okay.
Tyler
Now let's
Warren
say
has no
hold
quarterback.
on. Let's say Phillip Rivers is starting.
He's not. He's on the practice squad, so he's not.
Right, but they can elevate.
Matter of fact, there's another kid. There's another guy on the
on the come up.
Rippin might be in there.
Brett Ripien.
Rippin, yeah.
Ugh.
Now Warren is the QB4, I believe, which is crazy.
Tight end 4.
No, he's a emergency quarterback. Tyler
Is he
Warren.
now?
Now, if he gets into quarterback, maybe he could talk me into something. But I'm probably going Fannin, staying away from him.
All right, fair enough. Ooh. Who would you start, Omarion Hampton or Emeka Ibuka?
Ooh, okay. Let's see.
That one's probably close.
Chargers are playing the Chiefs. Okay.
Bucks Atlanta on Thursday Night Football.
Bucks Atlanta.
Wondered.
Yeah, I'd probably go.
And it's at home for
Hampton.
Tampa. I would probably go Ibuka here
because I think he could run on the Chiefs, and I'm still not sold on what's going on with Mayfield.
I'm going with Ibuka. I think I feel like Ibuka's been
and plus Godwin's getting the balls.
I understand that, but I think Ibuka's been I think he's due. I think he's had he hasn't had a game in a while. I feel like at least I have him myself, and I think against Atlanta at home on Thursday Night Football, I think he can get a couple of balls to him. So that's a good one there. All right, let's see what else we got.
All right.
Devin Neal or Chris Rodriguez?
Wow, Rodriguez gets the Giants.
And Neal against the Panthers.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to stick with my guns here with Neal. Okay. Here's why. Here's why. The Commanders stink. This just in, right? They stink.
They're playing for draft picks.
Exactly. So
are the Saints. Let's be honest.
I think what you'll get from Rodriguez is what you got last week. 56 yards. Maybe a catch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it.
I think that's the thing.
I think both of Neal gets in the end zone.
Both of these guys are very touchdown reliant.
I don't think so. Neal got over 70 yards and a touchdown.
I know, but the touchdown helped. The touchdown helped.
But I think when they get down there, they're used to feeding Kamara the ball. And now that they see the kid scored, I think they'll let him try it again a few times.
Yeah. And I haven't heard much about Kamara's injury. Like, that's something to keep an eye on. Because if he comes back, then Neal is null, if you will.
That's true. But I don't think he's back this week.
All right. Let's see. Jackson Dart or Lamar Jackson?
Wow. I'm going Dart. I don't trust Lamar. He's been playing terrible. Lamar. I don't trust. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
If you turn back the clock to week 1,
listen, the Bengals. They play the Bengals. They play the Bengals.
I know.
Wow.
I know. But
I would go Lamar.
Who did Lamar play last week?
Oh God, who did Lamar play last week? I want to say it was the Brown. No. God.
Ravens played the Steelers last week.
Okay.
Steelers aren't all that great.
No.
Okay. And here's what Lamar did. Okay. 219 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And he did get 43 yards on the ground and a touch, which isn't terrible. But I think Dart can outscore that for sure. Now, listen, the ceiling is very high, certainly for Jackson. I get that, but I think he's going to be closer to that floor kind of number. Dart is not only the ceiling high, but he gets to the high ceiling.
I'm going to say start Lamar Jackson over Dart because the Ravens need to win. They need to win. The Giants are they're not making the playoffs. It's over. Both of those teams aren't making the playoffs, the Commanders or the Giants. Right. That game means nothing.
They're playing
Keep that in mind. The Ravens have to win. They have to win. They're in a division right now that's probably one of the worst. I mean, I would have to look that up, but it's definitely one of the worst divisions because all the teams are so mid-average at best that the Ravens could sneak away into the playoffs, to my understanding, and this is a divisional game. So the Bengals defense isn't that great, and I know I get that it's in Cincinnati, but I think Lamar Jackson against one of the worst defenses in this league. I think they will. I think they'll have a great game. I think Lamar does better than Dart. All right, let's see if we can get enough in here. What about Luther Burden or Jaden Higgins?
Wow. Jaden Higgins, man, I really like that kid, but I think Luther Burden's the play here, just because Nico Collins is just such a beast. He's a ball hog. Woody Marks is really getting more involved, and I think Higgins is more like the third or fourth sort of option on there, where I think Burden is looking more like the one. So
Wow.
I choose that. That's why.
I think this one will be close in points, maybe like a point and a half away from each other, but I'd probably also go Burden against the Browns. That's tough. I got to be honest.
For sure.
All right. How much time do we got? All right, we'll end it there. All right. That'll be it for us here at the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Don't overthink it. Just start them. If you look like you're going to lose, go with the underdog and win. Just win, right?
Just win, baby. Let's go.
All right. That's it. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good one. Thank you for listening to another edition of the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter at KAF Football.